And in this video we'll be turning our SOLIDWORKS parts and assembly into first a SOLIDWORKS drawing and then into a drawing suitable for laser cutting. So if you're starting from nothing open, again the easiest way to open all of them is select all your parts, right click, open, and that should open them in sequence. And there they all are. Now I actually have two lids that I'm showing because I have in the videos an alternate way of making the lid or the top. So this top you can see is located by those four pads, and I'm going to show the method for the other top as well, which is located by little notch cutouts. That's the alternate method. So as long as you have all of them open, just make sure they're all there, then we're ready to make the SOLIDWORKS drawing file. So to do that, click on New, and now we're going to select the third option, Drawing, OK. And in this list, I would recommend the ANSI C format. That tends to be the scale or the format that uses a 1-to-1 scale. And so that's preferred. It also has plenty of room for our parts. If you don't see that in your list, then maybe uncheck this box. You'll get more selection, or you can always browse for it there. And then we'll say OK to that. Now that sheet format comes in off, usually in my experience is metric, or at least on my computer is doing that. So if you get MMGS here, then make sure you say IPS. Okay. And there's two ways to add part views to this sheet. You can see this is a drawing sheet, like in professionals you use in industry. It's got title block and things like that. The normal way, not what we're going to use, but the normal way is in View Layout. You'd click on Standard 3 View, and all your parts would be here, and then you would pull them in. But for laser cutting, this is not the best way. So I'm going to X out of this. The best way for laser cutting is to pull the parts in from what's called the View Palette. So that's right here. So I click that little View Palette icon, and now I get a set of parts in this drop-down menu. So you can see that's the same list I had before. So I'm going to select the bottom of my box first. And the nice thing about the View Palette is it gives you a preview of the view that will be pulled in instead of guessing, which is what tends to happen over here. So we only need this view for laser cutting. That view and that view do nothing for laser cutting. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to drag that in, and then I'm going to let go to place it. Now, the first thing we want to do when we place it is to make sure this came in as 1-to-1. And the way to be sure of that is I scroll down here and I want to see scale, and I want to see these be 1-to-1. If they came in as 2-to-1 or something else, let me show you what to do. I'm going to hit green check to accept that. Right click on Sheet 1 right there. Then go to Properties there. And this should be 1-to-1. If it's not, change it to 1-to-1. So I'll cancel since mine's fine. So we've got our first view, and now let's select some other views. Now your view palette might have disappeared on you if after placing that first one. The way you keep it out is the pin. So click there and then click the little pin to keep it there. Okay, now let's place the views for the rest of our parts. So let's see, I'll take a back. And there are all the views of my back, and I'm dragging in a front, and I'll place that back relative to the bottom, so that would be like that. And let's see, how about I do the front next, and I'll pull the front end, and I'll place that relative to the bottom. Then we'll do sides. Now I only have one side part that I used twice. So I'm going to click it, and then I'll pull once in here to be to the side of the front. And then I'll simply use another view there, click and drag, and then let go to place that one. Now you may have noticed that when you place these views, you don't have complete freedom where they go. So for example, let me move this view. The way you move it is by get it to have the blue outline, and then I'm pulling it up, and you can try to pull it over, but it won't let you. See that? And it's controlling the location of these views because it understands that there's a relationship between this view and this view. So that's why you don't have complete freedom where they go. Okay, we need a few more views. We have the side, and I'll do both of my tops so that I can show you the method for both. This is the top that actually goes with this set of drawings. So click that and drag it in. Now you could put it off in a corner and then you have more selection, but once you get close to other views and it understands the relationship, then it's going to plop it in a particular spot. So I'll click there to release that one. And last I'll do my top two, which is the one with the 4 pads on it. And this I'll just put somewhere like there. And there's a few things we need to do to clean up the drawing before we exit. Look for any of your views that have circles. And any circle will probably have this little center line mark. Now, of course, we don't want to laser cut that. That's a drawing symbol. So the easiest way to delete it is simply click it, make it blue, and then hit the delete key, and it's gone. So I'll do that for both of my tops. And you would do this for any circle on your part. Click and delete. There is a setting if you have a lot of circles, there's a setting to not show them. But most people don't, so I won't go into that. You'll also notice that when I look at this handle, I don't see the stem inside it. And that's because of the default way these views come in. So let me click on this drawing to select that drawing. You get the orange line around it. And now let me scroll down here to the display style. So the default is hidden lines removed. The one that you want to select is called wireframe. So the wireframe will show every line in the part without visibility questions. So click on wireframe to make sure that your stem will show. And I also want to set the hidden lines visibility for this lid because that has the little squares in it and I need to be able to see those. So I select that view and then I scroll down and then I click on wireframe for the display style. And now you can see it's going to show the little locating squares. And that's important to show because we want to laser cut those later. Okay, so I'm hitting escape to unselect that. And next we want to save in 2 ways. First I want to save this SolidWorks drawing file. So File, Save or Save As, and this is a SLD DRW file, and you can give it any name that you like there. SLD or DRW, and save that. And I've already done this once, so replace it. And now the important save for laser cutting is we want to save this as a different format. So I go to File, Save As type DWG. This is a very old format, and it's the one that the AutoCAD and Lasercutter will understand. Make sure you click on the Options button and make sure that the Scale Output is enabled and that these say 1:1 as well. The OK button is just off my screen here, but I think you can see me click on it right there or there. Okay, and now we're ready to save that as a DWG file. I've done this once before, so I'll make that a C and save. If I close the SolidWorks now or minimize it, I'll go back to my list of files here, and you can see it now created this SLD DRW file, and it also has this last DWG file that I just created as well. If you're on a USD lab computer, then you'll have ProjeCAD on all of those machines. And so you can say right-click to here, and then open with, and then ProjeCAD. If you're on your own computer, let me get this started, so I'll try it. This is a trial version. if you're on your own computer, then you can download a trial package from projasoft.com en downloads, and that'll work for 30 days. And when ProjaCAD opens, it'll look like this. So this is the SolidWorks drawing file that's now exported, and we need to clean this up and prepare it for laser cutting. So there's a number of steps to do. First thing I want to do is eliminate these lines here. And so let me show you now a feature of how things are selected in AutoCAD, ProjaCAD, and other clones. If I select by first clicking here and then dragging to the left, and then I'm going to click here, notice that it selected everything within that box, and it also selected things that were partially within the box. Now contrast that. I'm going to hit the Escape key to unselect. Contrast that with clicking and then dragging from left to right. And I click again. Now it selects stuff that is only entirely within the box, and in fact does not even select this line, since it was not within the box. So that's a very handy and important way to understand how selection occurs in most CAD packages. So we want to delete that because we don't need it in the Lasercut file. So click and drag to delete, and delete. Just make sure you don't delete any of your important files, important views. The last thing shown is the coordinate system. That cannot be deleted. There is a way to hide it if you want to, but it's usually not too much a problem, so I'll leave it. Probably the single most common problem when we export things from SolidWorks to laser cutting is that the scale of these views is off. And it can be off by 1/2, by 2, by 4, or by 25.4, which is of course the metric to English. And so to check that we're working with a valid file for laser cutting, let's check a dimension. So go to the dimension menu and then go to linear. And now hover your mouse near a corner and you'll see that it will grab onto that. Click there and then click there. And check that that is the dimension that you intend to occur. If you got a metric number, then that is probably because in the SolidWorks drawing file it was set to a metric scale, so you could re-export it in that case. If you got a half scale or a double scale, that's probably because the view scale was wrong in SolidWorks, but in another video I'll show you how to rescale right within ProjaCAD if that happens. So that's correct, so I'm going to select that and delete it. My scale is now correct. You'll probably notice that the way that the selection is done can vary in ProjaCAD. And what I mean by that is, will it grab onto that corner? So if I want to draw, let's say, that dimension again, here it's grabbing onto the corner, snapping to it. And that snap behavior is sometimes desirable and sometimes not. And the way that you control that, I'm going to hit Escape to get out of this, is down here. See all these gray and white words? So these are various ways in which selection and drawing are controlled. And the one that's controlling that last behavior is called Entity Snap, which is eSnap. If you want to turn it off, just click it and make it gray. And I would recommend all of these be off. Snap off, grid off, ortho off, polar off, and eSnap off. That'll give you the most flexibility for placing parts for the laser cutting. In other kinds of modeling, some of them you would want to be on. But for now, make sure all of those are gray. Some other laser cutting preparation. Let's get all of our lines within view, and let's select everything. Okay, and so they're dotted lines you can see when they're selected, and sometimes you get colored line markers. It doesn't really matter which one occurs. Notice the line width. That's right here, and this is the default for SolidWorks output, 0.15 millimeters. That needs to be changed to 0 in order for the laser cutter to interpret this drawing properly. Had we left it at 0.15, the laser cutter would interpret those lines not as lines, but as pictures. And it goes into a completely different mode, and not a mode that we want. So let's select 0, and it will understand those are lines to be cut or etched. vectors, if you will. Okay, so now they're all 0. I would recommend first setting them all red, and then we will change those that we want to be etched to white. So they're all red. Now a red line will be a cut line. It'll have full laser power at a slow speed. If there are lines that you'd like to be white, we will then select those one by one. But while it's all selected, there's one more command I'd like to do. And so the AutoCAD and ProjeCAD and these kind of programs, you can see they of course work by icons to draw things. They also work by the text input right here, and particularly there, the command window. And this is very handy. Some commands I think are either most convenient or only available by this method. And the command I want to type is overkill, one word, overkill, hit enter, and the defaults for this dialog box are fine. Say OK. And now it is searching through all of those lines and looking for lines that were on top of each other, a duplicate line. And it found 4 duplicate lines and deleted them for us. So, and typically I find those duplicate lines are due to the stem. That for some reason SolidWorks outputs 2 lines, one on top of the other. So we got rid of those lines. Our next step is to correct the lid and the handle and the stem on the lid. So right now it's just giving you a view of this top or lid as it is seen from above. But we don't want to laser cut that. That's going to put a hole in our part. So I want to get this part, the handle of the lid, off of that part. And I also want to get the stem within it off of the part as separate parts. So I've selected them both there. Now I'm going to hit Control-C for copy, and hit Control-V, and click again, and there they are. Now I'm going to hit Escape to unselect the middle parts, and I'm going to delete this one, because I do not want any line or laser cut there. But I would like to have a locator to tell me where to put the stem. So I want to change that line from a cut line, which is red, to a white line, and that's done here. So I go down to white, and now I have a white line there. You can now select any lines you want to be etched and make them white. So for example, if I wanted these to be etched instead of cut all the way through, I would select them all and make them white, and hit Escape to unselect. So I've pulled off the lid, handle, and stem. I also, if you have this kind of a lid or top, we need to pull off these so that they're cut as unique parts. So for that, you really only need to pull one off. So I'm going to select that, copy, and now I'm going to paste it, Control-V, and I'll just put it right here. And then you can just paste it 4 more times. So paste, paste, paste. Okay. I realized that I did a step there that intuitively that I didn't show you, and that's how to pan. So pan is done with the middle mouse button. I click the middle mouse button down, and I can move around my 2D screen. That's kind of like rotating in SolidWorks. Okay, now these we for sure don't want to be red. We don't want to cut holes there. Whether you have them white or nothing is dependent upon the rest of your design. So first let me fix this so that it's correct. We'll get rid of that one. I'll make this one white. Now if I want that to be white and to use as a locator, then this view is going to be the outside view of the top or lid. And if it's an outside view, then these must be gone. I can't have them at all. But if you had no etch lines on your top or lid, so I'm going to delete this one. If you only had red lines, then you could make these white. And now that will be the bottom or the inside view of the lid. So if I make those white, and these will help you know where to glue them on. It's really not a big deal if you don't have them here at all. We have another method of locating them, but it's also nice to have them know where to put them. So if you have a lid located by corner pieces, then we need to have 4 of those corner pieces outside the part, and we either need to have the locators here white or not visible at all. And if they are white, nothing else should be white, or else it would be forced to be the inside. Okay. Now we find that small pieces like this or smaller, they tend to get lost in the laser cutter. There's a honeycomb table that they can fall through. So I always recommend making 2 copies or more of those parts. So I'll just paste another set right there. So that's copy, Control C, Control V. Similarly for the handle, I don't want this as I've seen it here. This is this will have a cut line and it'll have another cut line right inside of it. I want this as a separate part, so I need to drag it out over there. And these are very small. These are the easiest to lose, so I'm going to make 3 copies of these. Copy, paste, and I'll put one there, and then I'll make another one there. Okay. So your handle and stem need to be red and separated from each other, and you don't want a handle in addition to the stem there. My last step for preparing this is to arrange these parts so that they take up less room on the wood to conserve the amount of wood. So first I'm going to delete this because my particular box doesn't use that design, so I'm just going to delete all that. You can see my layout right now is not super efficient because I have this little part off to the left, and I'd like to group it more with that one. So let's move that. So I'm going to select that, and now you can either drag it off from a line, or you can say Control C for cut, and then go to where you want it and say Control V, and then paste it into place. And now you notice Project Cat has no intelligence about where this is placed, so you can put it anywhere you want. So I'll put it there. Okay. I could make this probably a little more efficient if I wanted to by rearranging these parts. So for example, in this one, I might want to move this piece here down to this corner, or this lid up to that region, so that it takes up a smaller amount of wood. And I also might want to move them a little closer together. So a good separation between the parts is probably about a finger width, or 2/10 of an inch. So you can click and then drag that a little bit closer. I wouldn't get it super close. If it's too close, then the laser cut lines from the upper part can burn themselves onto the lower part. But certainly don't have it that far away. Okay, so roughly 2/10 of an inch just by eye. And I've already placed the others pretty close, so I don't need to do that. Now I might want to move this part down to the bottom corner, down to there. First I'm going to move these out of the way. And those I'm going to cut because they're harder to grab. And I'll put those into the upper portion, and then we can rearrange that as well. And now I'll move this a little closer, and I'll move these down, and we're just moving things around to take the least amount of wood, and then I can move those down as well. Okay, and that preserves wood for another box that might need that space there. So to review the changes that we made to the DWG file, remember we selected everything. We made all the lines 0 millimeters wide. We made most of them red and then some of them white. We used the overkill command to eliminate duplicates. We checked the scale of the drawing. We measured an edge to make sure that it was roughly the correct dimension and not twice or 25.4 times the size. We moved the handle and the stem off the part and made the stem locator white. If you had squares for location here, then we moved those off the part and either made them white or eliminated them, depending on the rest of that top design. We arranged the parts for minimum waste so that we can have other boxes take up space here and here. And we duplicated the smaller parts so that they don't get lost. And last, we deleted the border around the whole thing. And so once that's set, I'm going to hit escape to unselect those. We can save this as our file ready for laser cutting. So I'll click save, and that's done. And now the next step is to combine your file, this set of drawings, with 3 other students' files to put 4 of these on one laser cutting template. And I'll show that in the next video.